Story 1. I was married 2 years ago. My wife is a serious TikTok addict. She sends me at least 20 a day. We are both in our early 20s. She starts to send one about open marriages, and also some podcasts, a few long talks about how we are young, and we should try this before we get old and have kids after a few months of pushing and pushing. I give in, and we set some boundaries. 1. No unprotected activities. 2. Nothing in our house. 3. No overnight stays. If something happens with another person, no details and no touching each other for 30 days. No doctor visit authorized before any intimacy between us. We open our marriage. She starts dating on Friday nights. I work anyway. I get home usually around 10 p.m. The first year was fun. She goes out to dates when I'm not home, even though she's already home. Or arrives at the same time. She tells me what they did on the date and tells me it's just dates. So no physical acts or intimacy. During this first year, I myself had 3 dates, and each one was exactly, they find out I'm married and it's not what they're looking for. It was a pleasure meeting you. So after 3 dates, I left it. Then one Friday night, she doesn't get home until 3 in the morning. She comes home and jokes, saying she's very sore and tired for everything. I saw some hit marks on her chest and thighs. I'm not gonna lie. I was sore and upset about this. It was a Monday or Tuesday. I don't remember. She tries to initiate me with me, and I remind her of Rule 3. She said, "Are you serious? 30 days in a visit to the doctor?" I said yes. Very seriously. This becomes a pattern for us. She goes out with her bad boy on Friday nights, she has fun, and then she spends the rest of the week trying to get me to change Rule 3 for me. It's like she's put me on a shelf. I start to avoid working more, to be out of the house, even if it's just to walk. I start to be much more active physically. I start to lose some weight, but she's filled with the fog of new relationship energy and doesn't realize she thinks I'm out being my stuff. 5 months of being on a shelf. I'm not seeing a reason to stay in this marriage. I was selling my happiness so that she could be happy, and I was running out of things to sell. So far, she hasn't broken any boundaries, and every time I bring up the subject that maybe she should walk away from him, I think I'm overreacting or blowing things out of proportion. It's just a bit of fun. One night a week, our 4th wedding anniversary comes, and I take the day off work. I make her dinner and clean the house. She gets home from work at 4, gets in the shower, gets dressed. Tells me she is going to a bar to see a local band and not to wait for her, wakes up, completely forgot about our anniversary. I am devastated. I wake up at 9 a.m. and she never came home. Boundary 2 broken. I sent her a simple text. You broke our boundary of not staying over. It is over at 11:30. She starts calling. Tells me she just closed her eyes for a second and passed out. It was an accident. I am so sorry, it will not happen again. My lack of will to talk about it makes her wake up a little from her fog. She ends up coming to my work right before let's open. If she makes a scene in front of all the staff and owners, I finally manage to calm her down enough and she leaves. I promised her that on Sunday we could talk about it. I come home from work Saturday night, and she tries to get intimate with me again. Then she tells me that she's not going to go out with him anymore, and that she wants to close the marriage and work on reconnecting with me. It seems like she freaked out when she woke up there. She got my messages, and he made fun of her. He realized what a jerk I was. He tries every day to get intimate with me, and fails miserably at this point. I have no need or desire for her. He's a roommate. It's barely 30 days. She goes to the doctor and gets a checkup. She's clean of diseases, but she's pregnant. I'm not sure what she thought, but she comes home excited and tells me that she is pregnant. I tell her, okay. I hope you are happy together. She looks at me confused for a few minutes and starts crying a few days later. She texts him, telling him her response is, wow. How bad, maybe you want to pass her off as your husband. Laters, I file for divorce. Shortly after that, she starts doing anything and everything to change my mind about the divorce. She starts making promises, begs, please, offers everything under the sun, asking for a chance to fix us. I am polite and nice about it, but I'm stuck living with her for a while until our lease is up. We fall into a new pattern. She tries to. I reject her, and she gets angry. I go out for a run, and my resentment towards her grows, just like her bulge. 3 weeks ago, she comes into my room to talk, brought pizza for dinner, and starts saying that being pregnant makes her super interested all the time. She tries again to get intimate with me at this point. I am running out of courtesy. I tell her I am sorry. I don't like fat girls. Maybe if she goes, I am sure someone would like her. She leaves my room crying. We also had our first divorce hearing, and the judge gave us 6 weeks of court-ordered marriage counseling. We went to 2 sessions, kind of like a meetup. We talked separately to get to know each other's stories. I guess I just want this to be over so we can move on with our lives. Last Sunday was my birthday that Friday. For this, she asks me to spend my birthday with her to celebrate it. I decline her invitation. She keeps pushing the issue, and I blow up and tell her I don't waste special occasions with her anymore. The last one was our 4th anniversary, in which she went out to get pregnant by a loser marionero. I leave her crying in the kitchen. I go to work and tell her that I will see her on Monday for our court-ordered waste of time on Monday morning. I am at marriage counseling, and she never shows up. I didn't call her. I didn't call her friends, nothing. So I called her parents. She was arrested Sunday morning for DUI and reckless endangerment, and they are on their way. I offer them our house to stay since I have a couch at a friend's house. My lawyer goes to the judge, speeds things up, and my divorce is finalized this past Friday yesterday. I helped them pack up some of her stuff, and today I'm going to help them load a haul they rented tomorrow. They set her free and take her home. She wants to see me, but I feel like it will only make it worse for both of us. We both need to move on now. Some comments before you read the update. That 30-day rule probably saved you from being stuck to her, to others 18 years. I guarantee you she would have tried to pass the baby off as yours, and you two would have been intimate at that time. Good luck in your future. I came here to say, don't sign the birth certificate. Ask your lawyer how to get out of not paying support. You would have to show a DNA test to prove you are not the father and not claim the child as yours. Otherwise, the courts might force you to pay support. Consult your lawyer about children born to another father during the marriage. The lawyer said, I'm free and clean today. I'm super emotional. I've been crying. I don't know why. But praying is good to clear all those emotions. Get all that negativity out of your system. You're in a liminal space right now, and that can be emotional and uncomfortable. It's closing this chapter so I can move on to the next. The uncomfortable thing is true. Dealing with my ex-father and mother-in-law. Packing her stuff in a haul. The funny thing is, you stuck to the rules and gave her every chance to improve. And she consistently broke every one of the 3, showing a complete lack of respect. Imagine she had the whole thing fixed the way she wanted it, and it wasn't enough. Then she thought she would still stay after she broke all the rules. But she didn't. You are a damn hero. That's why I really saw this story going another way. But this was the best outcome. You got rid of a miserable person who tried to take advantage of you at every turn. That's because open marriages like this case are just a guilt-free way to cheat. And now the update. My divorce was finalized a week and a day ago. I've been going over every moment in my head, and I feel guilty that I came out the other side, pretty much intact, and in some ways better for it. While she's still living in that dump, and not moving forward or giving up, I had to change my phone numbers, delete my Facebook. I can't even answer the phone at my business. The only good part is, she's 8 hours drive away at her parents' house, so she can't show up. But she's texting her friends since the divorce was final. I was able to start my life over last update. Last Thursday, I got a call from my ex-wife, after no contact, since that our divorce was finalized. I had a 45-minute talk with her. She had been doing some self-reflection and apologizing for specific things she did. In the 5 months she put me on a shelf, and the 6 months of trying to stop me from divorcing her, it seemed like she needed some closure, and she hoped that one day I would forgive her. I no longer hate her. I informed her that I have forgiven and I want her to have a good life. Forget about everything, and move on with her life. She promised to respect my no contact. I'm moving on with my life. I'm even working on rebuilding relationship with my parents, who I haven't talked to in 7 years. Let me guess. These are the same friends of hers that helped convince you to try this open marriage thing. Where were they when I was hurting? Tell them I kicked rocks. She broke every boundary I had. She got pregnant by a felon who now wants nothing to do with her but still thinks she deserves for her to have his baby. She doesn't see you as anything but a weak provider. She would never have your kids. She just wants your resources to raise someone else's child. If she really loved you and wanted to really save this marriage, she knew what she had to do. Dude, I feel sorry for you. I read your story and it's unfortunate that it ended like this. But don't feel bad, you did what's best for you in life. There are Always consequences. And we have to take responsibility for our actions. She has to take responsibility for hers. Please don't feel guilty. You can send this chai of open marriage in an effort to please your ex-wife, who obviously never took into consideration your feelings. Your ex-wife constantly broke boundaries and showed you nothing but contempt. She skipped your anniversary to have an unprotected extramarital activity that ended up being superstition. Take your time to recover and learn the lessons from this experience. She made her decisions. Now she has to live with the consequences. That's her problem. Stay strong in your future. Better days will come. Move on. Stay firm. And, without contact, I have been following your story. Let me say that I am impressed by how quickly you recognized your mistake in accepting her request to open the marriage. Then you took quick and correct steps to correct the path of your life. It takes a lot of willpower, emotional backbone, and resilience to act the way you did. It is natural to feel guilty after all. Once the more than enough to not only marry her, but you even allowed her to do the foolishness of open marriage. You were supposed to grow old together, so seeing her in these conditions would trigger emotions. Otherwise, you would not be a good guy. But remember, if you get involved with her again, somehow she will escalate the circus to keep you trapped in her orbit of cruelty. Redirect that guilt into improvement, energy towards yourself. But always remember that it's happened. It's her doing the state she's in is entirely her doing. She's not your problem forever. Or what about those friends? Enablers. She's sending any chance you've recorded or documented that too. You might be able to get your lawyer to do something about it. Report the restraining order. You have a right to be left alone. It's time for you to move on. And consider this all as just a bump in your life story. 2. My wife cheated on me after 22 years. I found out my wife was cheating on me. Here are the gory details. It was one of my friends and neighbors, someone we go to church with. Even my oldest son took his daughter to prom. Long story short, that family was close to us. So, on Sunday night of the Super Bowl, we had some people over to the game. That neighbor is well after the game. Everyone left, and I went to bed an hour later. I woke up overhearing a conversation. I got up. I heard my wife talking on the Snapchat audio speaker with a guy they were making arrangements to meet in the morning after I left for work and do the deed. I kept listening and realized that voice on the other end. I ran down the stairs, grabbed the phone and confronted him. He immediately hung up the phone. My wife confessed to me that the affair was going on. It's been a month now. Plus my 4 kids heard the argument and the issue, and now they hate their mother. I now live in a small community, and she's hanging around the town. I'm really struggling with a mixture of anger, depression, and loneliness. I need some advice. I work, but my wife blames me for how I'm too committed to work the past year, being a business owner during COVID, trying to make some money. She has blamed me on getting COVID, considers it as a mental problem, and has also blamed it on too much drinking. Now the advice above is a new symptom of COVID, makes you cheat. Now it is impossible to make it. I work if she blames shifts with these pathetic excuses and refuses to take responsibility. It would keep happening. If you hadn't found out, at least throw the one out of the room. I would ask her to leave PLS house for a while so you can process this, and don't make any decisions yet. It's too early to decide. Make it work like you say. And don't make her promises. She should know that divorce is an option for you. If the neighbor has a wife or girlfriend, make sure they are informed. If they don't already, grave your confession and send it to your wife. Good job, go to a lawyer. At least you should know how this will affect your family. Don't fall for this manipulative BS. You work too hard. BS. COVID made her do it. She drank too much. Yes, sure she did. She must be drinking a lot to do this continuously for a month. Didn't know that adultery was a symptom of COVID. Do you think this is the classic blame, shifting, and gaslighting routine found in the Cheating Big Book of Excuses, Chapter 1? So you've been caught, sadly. There's nothing special about your circumstances. Your wife and this guy decided they wanted to do it with people they weren't married to, and so they chose to give each other permission to do it. Look closely, they didn't make a mistake. They didn't stumble and fall over each other because, they actively and consciously chose to commit the act and cheat on both you and the other betrayed spouse. For a month, I can't suggest a course of action beyond the obvious. But I would suggest that both respect and trust have been irrevocably destroyed. Here, don't make any snap decisions, but certainly think about what the future is going to be like with her, knowing what you now know. Good luck, make smart decisions, and be your own best friend now. Because your wife sure as hell isn't. Imagine a driver drunk, blame the alcohol or the judge after an accident that destroys an entire family that's called being selfish and cowardly to reconcile successfully after an affair. The first thing you need is true remorse for what she decided to do to you and your family. There are 100 more variables that need to fit. I would stay away from her as much as possible. Don't leave the house. Move into a spare room and try to get your thoughts together. Deal with her as little as possible and focus on your children, given how evil she has been, not only cheating but then blaming you. I would prepare for the worst. But at least be prepared. Talk to a lawyer. Discuss the options. And your kids hate her. It could work in your favor. And you could get full custody anyway. Don't tolerate her blame you for her vile decisions when you work too much. You know what my wife does? She sits and talks to me about it. You know what? She doesn't do billing and fucking the neighbor behind my back and then blame me for it. We have 3 kids. And if I was in your place, given what you posted, I would go maybe after the divorce and some hard lessons. She will wake up and can rekindle, but she sounds deep in the fog thing and needs a wake-up call. I'm sorry, man, this sucks. A fog just so real. My husband's fog is lifted. And he's so sorry, I feel bad for him. Not enough to stay married to him, but it's crazy how I saw things a few months ago compared to now. I feel that you're going through this. I've often thought how terrible it would feel if we lived in a small town. We don't, but it still makes me tired. The pity. This is what will always make me laugh. I could have fooled anyone in the world, any damn stranger, to get rid of his itch, but he had to turn it into a personal show where they humiliate you in your own home and in your community. And then that, I'm sorry, we go to therapy. Like any loser in bed, I would cry at the last minute, as if that changed the fact that your son and his best friend won't have that stain of heroin on their mind for the rest of their lives. Hey buddy, do you remember when your father and my mother stood up to our families? Or every time your daughter wants to remember her prom or any event you shared? Couples that kicked you in the balls honestly deserves a trophy for the things of the worst way possible. This obviously hits close to home, but I hate your wife and people like her. How can there be a solution? Take your ungrateful woman. But when you do, there never look back. It's easier said than done, but I wish you strength to see this through to what is best for you.